So, we're going to talk about Romeo and Juliet and the scene where they first interact at the Capulet's house during the masquerade ball. So.
If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is that my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss.
Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss.
Have not saints' lips, and holy palmers too?
Aye, pilgrim, lips that they must use in prayer.
Oh, then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray. Grant thou, lest faith turn to despair.
Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake.
Then move not, while my prayer's effect I take. Thus, from my lips, by thine, my sin is purged.
Then have my lips the sin that they have took.
Sin from my lips? Oh, trespass sweetly urged, give me my sin again.
You kiss by the book.
Okay, so that's a scene where they first talk to each other and have their lines. So basically, what do you think is being said in those lines? We have them right there. It's everything that they say. And if you want to, we can change it so it's more English that we know now.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, I think Romeo is just trying to be suave and ask her gently if he can kiss her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just like what's interesting about this sonnet is that usually sonnets are spoken just one person, and this sonnet is between two people, and usually, especially with the kinds of sonnets that were used, it's between a male and this unattainable, inaccessible woman. And so what's really interesting about the scene is that they're right in front of each other and they're speaking this sonnet, and it's not about Romeo talking to this inaccessible Juliet, but Juliet answering back, and she's actually physically there. So, and also what's interesting is like they use all of this religious language, like the holy shrine, the blushing pilgrims, and etc. And I guess just like, why are they using religious language to describe the love they're encountering? Like, what's the significance of it that you can think about?
Yeah. Well, I think there's something, I mean, in terms of unattainability, there's something forbidden, I guess, about religious institution and love like this, physical love.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if it's a sonnet about unattainable things, but it's at each other, then maybe the religious language would work.
Yeah, it's kind of like making their love and this bodily love something in divine, which is not like
right. It feels
kosher.
Foreign.
Yeah, especially once they start like kissing and like somehow relating this desire that they're having physically with religious desire. It just seems very weird and foreign.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's, I guess, like okay to do? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like we shouldn't criticize it because it's Shakespeare, but
right.
But it is very purposeful. I'm sure about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting move though.
Yeah, so I guess like a lot of what you could talk about with it is just like how they're using this religious language kind of wrongly. They're taking this religious language that they have at their disposal and applying it to this really non-religious feelings in a way. And like, I thought it was interesting. It's like when usually the desire that you get with religious language is a desire to be obedient to God. And in this, they're like talking about how their desire for each other makes them sin. And they kiss and they sin in that. So
it sounds like what people do now, repurposing the language so that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Additionally, just kind of to reference back to like the sonnet thing about the unattainable lover, it's again kind of reminds me of that with like usually the religious and the spiritual is just so high above you, and they're bringing it down. So in just the same way that they use a sonnet is two people are doing the sonnet when usually it's just one person. It's like they're taking this religious thought and kind of bringing it down to bodily form.
Yeah.
And like kind of lowering of religion and merging it with this really physicality of their relationship.
Yeah.
So, additionally, what I was kind of thinking about and thought we could talk about a little bit is just kind of the consequences of them doing this, of them bringing down.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, this is a tragedy, and they end up dying because of their love for each other. Do you think that this scene is kind of foreshadowing of their ultimate death?
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes me think that, as well as the foreshadowing, that Shakespeare is confusing the reader as to, I don't know, the quality or the validity of their love. Because if it's muddled like this and confused with religious language, then the reader might go, oh, well, I don't know about that anyway, and then the families disapprove, and then they kill themselves over it, and so it's all a lot more confused rather than the typical image of it, which is two people love each other, they should be allowed to just love each other, it doesn't matter. But it's definitely foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They sin, the wages of sin is death, that whole thing comes in, and it's, it fits in really well. I've never read it that way. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and I was also, I was thinking, again, with the whole sonnet thing and the Petrarch and Lover, if they hadn't been brought together in, this physical way, if Juliet had always been this kind of spiritual, unattainable person, would Romeo have gone so far to die for her? Because they'd never felt this need to keep meeting each other, keep being with each other physically.
Right.
Then maybe neither of them would have had to die. They wouldn't have felt the need to go to such extremes to be with each other in body.
Yeah.
And I just see, this sort of combination of religious and spiritual and bodily is, really this is the whole reason why they end up dying. It's this bringing together in their love.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then again, kind of at the same time, I wonder if it's better. Because they're willing to go to any length. Because, I think about Jesus. He's the bringing together of the spiritual and the bodily. He's both human and God.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, is this what love is supposed to look like?
That's
even
really
if it leads to tragedy?
I don't know, because he's confused the religious language in there, which kind of feels like an adulteration of it.
Yeah, I know, it's confusing then.
I don't know, I think I would be less inclined to say that it's a picture of Jesus than I would to say that it's foreshadowing or something like that. But it's, I don't know, that you could definitely read it that way.
Yeah, especially how they keep talking, and this is saints and not Jesus, but for saints have hands, and they're talking about pilgrims going to saints. It's very similar to Christ coming to us going to Christ sort of ideas, and I mean, they even talk, saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake. Then move not while my prayers take effect I take. Thus from my lips, by thine, my sin is cleaned.
Right.
Then my lips...
So there's some redemption to it as well.
Right. And it's like this exchange of trespasses for cleanliness and back and forth.
Oh, trespass sweetly urged. Yeah.
Right. But then it's like, you want your sin again? Like,
right.
That's what... So it's like not quite...
It's interesting.
Right.
It's not quite right.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's confused and...
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see, what else? Let's see about the notes. So the sonnet uses a central image of a pilgrim worshipping at the shrine of a saint. The religious imagery, however, is mixed with humor and flirtation.
Gentle flirtation. I'm not sure it was so gentle.
No, it was quite obvious. Juliet's reaction to Romeo's advances is interesting. She doesn't seem taken aback by his forwardness. In fact, her words to him are gentle and complimentary, suggesting that she is more than happy to be chatted up by this attractive young guy. That's something I didn't really think about before, just as far as her responses to Romeo, because usually I just focus on what Romeo's saying.
Yeah.
But her responses aren't just like this naive, like little girl who just like is completely innocent. Like she's innocent, but she also knows what's going on and is encouraging it. That's why I like this sentence. She's youthful and innocent, but at the same time witty and mature.
Yeah.
So like she knows what's happening and she's playing into it because she wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I also just wonder, like, what is it about what Romeo is saying that's making her, like, encourage him on? Like, how exactly, like, his first lines to her are, if I offend with my unworthiest hand, this holy shrine, the gentlest sin is this. My lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Like, what about that makes her like, oh, this is... Other than the fact that he probably is cute.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something that I would be like, oh, this guy likes me. And he's liking me in a manner that I like back. Like, it seems either, at first, like, I don't get what you're saying. Why are you comparing me to a shrine?
Yeah.
That's weird. But maybe in that time, the historical context of it would make more sense.
Yeah, the tradition of the church would, I could see it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's just something else that I thought was interesting. And just their banter back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And she's definitely encouraging it.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. No, it's a synopsis. We could look at, there's also interesting things about, let's see, the language again, just how they're talking even. Let me find. Just their discussion about the sonnet. Shakespeare uses a sonnet form a number of times. Famously, the first time Romeo and Juliet meet, when their dialogue takes the form of a shared sonnet. The traditional use of the sonnet as a love poem is the obvious reference point here, but there's another level of meaning. It echoes the prologue, which also foretells the eventual tragic fate.
Right, so they're kind of both foreshadowing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how he's using the sonnet both as, like, normal. It's like a love poem, like,
right.
I'm showing you that I like you.
Yeah.
But also as this, like, foreshadowing of tragedy, like as we were talking about before, it's so blatantly
definitely
is foreshadowing that, and I just think it's an interesting way to use, like Shakespeare often in his plays, like, uses conventions in a way that's unconventional.
Yeah.
So he'll take, like, the sonnet, and that's usually just like this love-struck guy about this woman he can't attain, and suddenly he puts it into two people, and he's actually talking with the woman he can't attain.
Makes it a scene.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same with love. Like, usually it's all about love, but here in Romeo and Juliet, it also points to tragedy. So I just think that's an interesting...
Which points back to Jesus as well.
Right.
The love and the tragedy of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting.
So, I think we're done. That's all.